The suitcase was still open on the bed when I left the letter inside it. Right between her neatly folded jeans and that new silk top she swore she bought on sale. She'll see it eventually, maybe halfway through the flight, maybe when she unpacks. I don't really care when. What matters is that she'll read it, and by then, everything will already be done. I can still smell her perfume in the house. It's faint now, mixed with the scent of coffee and old wood polish. Funny how the little things stay behind after someone decides to emotionally move out months before they physically do. She thought she was being subtle. She never was. Her last words before the taxi pulled up were, "We'll talk when I get back." She said it like someone confirming a dentist appointment. Calm, casual, rehearsed. She didn't notice my hands shaking as I helped with her luggage. Didn't see the look in my eyes when I whispered, "Sure, when you get back." She thought she still had the power to decide when conversations happened. She didn't. The thing is, she planned everything, except for me. She didn't know I'd gone through her travel receipts. Didn't know that conference in Denver was actually a 5-star oceanfront hotel in Miami. She didn't know I called the number she kept saving as Marcy, HR, and heard a man's voice answer. Or that I'd listened, quietly, while he said her name like he owned it. But I didn't yell. Didn't explode. I didn't even tell her I knew. I just started cleaning, organizing, preparing. I spent the next 3 days making sure her life would look untouched, except for the things that mattered. My clothes disappeared first, then my name from the bank account, then my photos from the walls. I even changed the car title back to my name. Piece by piece, I dismantled every trace of us. And that letter, that stupid, final letter, was my masterpiece. Not angry, not bitter, just facts. Quiet words from a man who finally stopped begging to be seen. She'll open it expecting guilt, maybe an apology. Instead, she'll find keys, bank slips, a photo from the day we moved in together, and one line written across the back of it. "We were supposed to talk when you got back. You'll understand why you can't." By the time her plane lands, the locks will be changed, her number blocked, her things donated. She'll walk through the door to a stranger's house and wonder if I ever existed. And maybe that's what I wanted all along, for her to finally feel the emptiness she left behind. She wanted to talk when she got back. I made sure she never had to. By the time her plane touched down in Miami, I was already gone from the city. My phone was on airplane mode, not because I was flying, but because I didn't want to exist. There's a difference. I didn't leave with rage or some grand revenge plan. I left quietly, like a ghost checking out early. My car was parked in long-term storage, my lease terminated, my accounts closed. Every tie, every string, every reminder, snipped clean. I wanted her to return to the silence she created, the kind that echoes. I can picture her now, stepping off the plane, hair perfect, phone lighting up with messages she'll never answer. She'll text me first, of course. Something short, polite. Landed safe. Then maybe an emoji, like that would make it better. She'll expect the usual reply, "Glad you made it." Maybe with a heart. She won't get one. She'll scroll up and notice that my profile photo is gone, that my status is empty. She'll tell herself it's a glitch, maybe bad signal. But when she reaches the hotel, when she opens her suitcase and finds that letter sitting on her favorite jeans, that's when the panic will start. I know her routine. She'll read it standing up, halfway through unpacking, the air conditioner humming too loud. She'll expect anger, paragraphs of it, because that's what she's used to. Me begging, over-explaining, apologizing for things I didn't do. But instead, she'll see neat handwriting and a calmness that will terrify her. It'll take her a minute to realize what's missing. No accusations, no promises, no "I love you." Just closure, the kind she doesn't get to respond to. And I can almost hear her reaction, the shaky laugh, the muttered, "No, he wouldn't." Then the second reading, slower this time. She'll find the car keys, the photo, the bank slips. Her eyes will dart around the hotel room like maybe she's being watched. She'll call my number, twice, then again. Straight to voicemail. She'll send an email, then another, then 10 more. The first few will sound annoyed, the next few desperate. By midnight, they'll turn frightened. She'll try calling my brother. He'll tell her the truth. I sold everything, paid off my debts, and transferred what was left to her. He said he didn't need anything anymore. He'll say. He just wanted out. She'll ask, out of what? But he won't answer, because he doesn't know. I made sure no one did. Meanwhile, I'll be somewhere north, sitting in a cheap roadside diner off Route 41, stirring cold coffee and watching the rain smear the neon lights. I'll check my phone once, just to see the flood of unread messages. 100 missed calls. One from an unknown number. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's him. Doesn't matter. I'll turn the phone face down and leave it there, vibrating uselessly on the counter. People think revenge is loud, shouting, slamming doors, making scenes. But sometimes it's quiet. It's the kind of silence that leaves a person screaming into it, begging for any sound at all. That's what she gave me for months, absence disguised as love. Now, I'm giving it back. The difference is, I'm better at it. I plan my disappearance like she planned her affair. Carefully, selfishly, beautifully. And while she's pacing that hotel room, crying over a letter she can't reply to, I'll be watching the horizon through a fogged-up windshield, thinking about how peaceful it feels to finally stop existing in someone else's story. She'll come back eventually. She'll open the door to her house, and find it empty. No furniture, no photos, not even a note this time. Just space. Space that used to be filled with my love, my voice, my hope. She'll whisper, "Everett?" into the air like a prayer, and the silence will answer her louder than I ever could. She said we'd talk when she got back. She will, but only to herself. 3 days after her plane landed, I finally broke radio silence. But not in the way she expected. No texts, no calls, no email. Just one transfer, back into her account. 37,000 and change. The exact amount we had saved for a house down payment. Gone from our shared dreams, returned to her name. Like a severance package for the marriage she quietly resigned from months ago. I imagine she sat with it for a long time, refreshing the bank app again and again, wondering if it was a mistake. She's always been careful with numbers. I can practically see her biting her thumbnail, whispering, "Why would he do that?" to the empty hotel room. I wanted her to ask that. I wanted her to realize that I'd let go of everything, even the things I'd once begged her to build with me. Because I saw the photos. That's what finally did it. Buried in a forgotten cloud album linked to our smart TV, I found 36 photos from her last business trip. Not professional shots, personal ones, private ones. Her in a black swimsuit I'd never seen before, arms around a man whose face was cropped in every single picture. But the same hand, same ring, same sunburned shoulder. I didn't know his name then. Just the edge of his jaw, the tip of a tattoo on his wrist, and the way he looked at her, like she was his, and always had been. She never even deleted them, just hid them. That's when I realized something. She didn't think I'd ever look. She thought I'd keep playing my part, the quiet husband, the homebody, the fixer, the forgiver. She'd grown so used to me breaking in silence that she didn't notice I'd stopped bending at all. So I became someone she didn't recognize. I erased myself from her story, but I left just enough behind to haunt it. While she spent the week running damage control, calling my sister, checking property records, trying to contact our landlord, who now only speaks to me, by the way. I was sitting in the most forgettable motel imaginable, surrounded by wood paneling and buzzing fluorescent lights. There was a guy 2 doors down who coughed all night. A woman above me who stomped in heels at 2 a.m. I wasn't living well, but I was living free. And here's the part that really burns. I wanted to talk to her. God help me. I wanted her to call, crying, saying it was all a mistake. I wanted her to lie to me, tell me he meant nothing, that she got swept up, that she was broken and confused and didn't know how to undo the damage. I would have seen through it. I wouldn't have believed her, but I still wanted to hear it. Instead, I got silence. No apology, no confession, no denial, just silence. The same silence she gave me while I fell apart, while I second-guessed my worth, while I tried to figure out if the woman I loved was still somewhere inside the stranger I lived with. But here's the thing about silence. It grows teeth. And now it was hers to survive. I left her one last thing before vanishing entirely. An unmarked envelope delivered to her hotel front desk, no return address. Inside was a printed screenshot of one of those hidden photos, the one where she's laughing, hair wet, eyes glowing, kissing the corner of his mouth. On the back, I wrote 5 words. "You look happy without me." No signature, no context, just truth. I left the envelope at noon. By sundown, I was crossing state lines with the windows down and no plans to ever return. She once told me I was too sentimental, that I held on to things too long. She was right. But not this time. I know she went to my mother's house first. That's always been Renee's move. Fake familiarity, weaponized charm. My mom was the one person she couldn't manipulate anymore. Not after everything she'd watched me go through. She didn't slam the door in Renee's face, though. She's not like that. I imagine she opened it slowly, arms folded, eyes steady. No hugs, no fake smiles. Just that quiet, unwavering disappointment that only a mother can master. Renee probably asked if I was there. If she knew where I'd gone. My mom would have told her the truth. He's alive, and that's all I care about. That's code for, you lost the right to ask. Then she'd close the door without a goodbye, and Renee would be left standing on the porch of a life she didn't protect. She didn't stop there, of course. She tried my job next, or what used to be my job. But I'd resigned a week before she left, filed the paperwork from a cafe 2 towns over, while she was packing for Miami and pretending it was a networking retreat. My boss knew better than to tell her anything. I had explained everything in my resignation letter. Not the affair, not the heartbreak, just that I needed to vanish for my own sanity. He understood. He's seen too many men fold themselves in half trying to be enough. She called my best friend, but Kyle had already blocked her after the 3rd call. He was the first one I told about the photo, the one I found buried in that cloud album. We sat in his truck for 2 hours that night, drinking warm beers and not saying much. I expected him to call her trash, to push me toward revenge. But instead, he looked at me and said, "You gonna keep letting her write the ending?" That sentence hit me harder than any insult ever could. Now she was the one chasing ghosts, retracing footprints I'd already swept away. She even checked with our old landlord, the woman who used to send us birthday cards and Christmas cookies. Renee begged her for a forwarding address. The woman said I hadn't left one. That wasn't true. I'd left her a note. Just not for Renee. It said, "If she comes looking, don't lie. Just don't help." And she didn't. Meanwhile, I was in a different state under a different name, staying in a tiny lakeside cabin I found through an anonymous listing site. It was all pine wood, no Wi-Fi, just the quiet rustle of trees and the occasional slap of water against the dock. I started journaling again, not about her, not about the pain, but about myself. Who I used to be before I made my identity about making her happy. I realized I hadn't bought anything for myself in over a year. Everything was her style, her taste, what she'd like. I didn't even know what I liked anymore. So I started over. New clothes, new haircut. I even tried cooking. Burnt the first 3 meals, but I didn't care. It felt real. But despite everything, the silence, the distance, the clean break, I couldn't stop checking that anonymous inbox I'd set up. Just in case. Every night, around midnight, I'd log in. And she never disappointed. The subject lines were always different. "Please talk to me. Just tell me where you are. Did I ruin everything? Please, Everett." But the last one, that one stopped me cold. "I think I'm pregnant." No greeting. No body. Just that. For a moment, the world tilted. I stared at the screen, unsure if I was breathing. Was it true? Was it a lie to pull me back in? Was it even mine? I didn't reply. I didn't sleep that night either. Because the part of me that had finally begun to heal just took a hit I didn't see coming. And I wasn't sure if I had the strength to ignore her this time. I must have read that email 50 times before sunrise. "I think I'm pregnant." 4 words. No punctuation, no context. It sat there on the screen, glowing in the dark like a trap. I tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that it was manipulation, that she'd written it in a panic to pull me back into her orbit. She knew I still had a soft spot, the same way she knew how to twist it until I bled guilt. But at the same time, what if it was true? What if, in cutting her out of my life, I'd also cut out a part of mine I didn't even know existed? That thought wrecked me in ways I didn't expect. For 3 days, I didn't eat. I barely left the cabin. I kept walking to the lake, staring at my reflection until my own face made me sick. My mind replayed every moment of our last month together. The way she'd started touching her stomach absently, the dizzy spells, the way she said, "Don't worry, I'm fine," every time I asked if she was okay. Was she already pregnant then? Or was this another man's child? And if it was mine, was she ever going to tell me before she disappeared into another man's arms? I told myself not to reply, but it was a lie. I opened the draft window a dozen times, typing and deleting, typing and deleting. I didn't know how to talk to her without falling back into the same role, the husband desperate to fix things that were already in ashes. Eventually, I wrote just one line and hit send before I could think it through. If it's true, I'll take responsibility, but not for you. No greeting, no name, no emotion, just a sentence I hoped would sound strong, even though my hands were shaking so hard that I hit send twice by mistake. An hour later, her reply came. Short, immediate, desperate. It's yours. Please, Everett, don't do this. I made a mistake, but it's not what you think. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't trust myself. Every word she sent was a key turning in the door I'd locked from the inside. She knew my weaknesses better than anyone, and the biggest one was believing her even when I shouldn't. That night, I dreamed about her. We were back in our old kitchen, the one with the leaky faucet that sang every time you turned it off. She was sitting on the counter, laughing, swinging her legs like she used to when things were still good. She said, "It's not over, Everett. We're still us." I woke up sweating, furious at my own brain for betraying me. By the next morning, there were 5 more emails, each one more frantic than the last. She wrote about doctor appointments, tests, confusion, guilt. She said she'd ended things with him before she even left for the trip. She said she wanted to tell me in person, but I left too fast. I wanted to believe her so badly that it physically hurt. But then, at the end of the 5th message, she wrote something that changed everything. "You're not the only one who disappeared." That line pulled the ground out from under me. What did she mean? Who else was gone? The man she was seeing? The one from the pictures? My stomach twisted with something darker than jealousy. It was dread. I opened the next message, sent just a few minutes later. "Luke is missing. No one's heard from him since Miami. Please, I need to talk to you. I don't know what's happening." I just sat there staring at the screen. The same man whose name had appeared on that email months ago. The one who'd written her about their weekend together. Missing. Completely gone. For a long time, I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My mind ran wild with every possibility. Maybe she was lying again. Maybe he just vanished to avoid drama. Or maybe, just maybe, she was finally feeling what it was like to lose something she couldn't get back. But as I looked at her words, her fear, her confusion, I felt something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Something else. It felt like the beginning of a reckoning. And for the first time since she left, I wasn't sure who was haunting whom anymore. I didn't reply to her again. I couldn't. Every word she sent sounded like a net tightening around me, like she was trying to pull me back into a life I had already buried. But I couldn't stop reading. Every new email from her came shorter, shakier, more frantic. There was a point when she stopped even using my name, like saying it hurt. Just please, and answer, and I don't know what to do. I told myself I didn't care, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't start checking the news after that. The headline came 3 days later. I didn't even need to search her lover's name. It was everywhere. Local businessman reported missing in Miami Beach. Wife and colleagues concerned. There was a picture attached, grainy, taken from a wedding post or some corporate event. The same jawline from her photos. The same tattoo on the wrist. That was him. Luca. The man who sent her that email. "Can't wait to spend the weekend with you." The man who made my wife laugh the way she used to laugh with me. And now he was just gone. No trace. No credit card use. No calls. No body. Nothing. I read every article I could find. Witnesses said he'd checked into the hotel with a woman, though no one could confirm who she was. They left the room together one night, and only one of them came back. The woman returned alone at 3:42 a.m. Cameras caught her walking through the lobby, hair down, oversized sweatshirt, sunglasses at night. No suitcase. No smile. Just a ghost of the woman she used to be. And I swear to you, I recognized that sweatshirt. It was mine. That was the moment my blood went cold. I had left that sweatshirt on the couch before I packed up and left. It was one of the only things I didn't take. I thought she'd throw it away or donate it. But she'd packed it for her trip. I didn't know whether to feel sick, confused, or afraid. For the next 2 nights, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, had something happened to him? Had she done something? Or was it all a coincidence? Another cruel twist of irony the universe was laughing about? My mind wouldn't stop circling the same question. What if she's not just scared? What if she's hiding something? Then, 2 mornings later, I found a letter slipped under my cabin door. No stamp, no envelope, just a single folded page. I didn't hear anyone outside. The paper was damp, like it had been handled with trembling hands. Inside, there were only a few words written in her handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere. You think I wanted this? No signature. No explanation. Just that. I froze. How did she find me? I hadn't told anyone where I was. No forwarding address. No social media. Nothing. I used prepaid cards and fake names for everything. The only person who had my location was the woman who rented the cabin to me, an older widow who lived half a mile up the hill. I drove to her house immediately, heart pounding. When she opened the door, she looked pale and uneasy. Before I could even ask, she said, "She was here last night. Said she was your wife. She looked unwell." I asked what that meant. The woman hesitated, then said, like she hadn't slept in days. Eyes wide, hands shaking. She kept asking if you were safe. She left when I said you weren't here. I stood there, unable to speak. Renee had found me. Somehow, she'd tracked me down after all this time. But why? To explain? To beg? To confess? That night, I stayed awake listening to every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind brushing against the windows. I half expected her face to appear in the reflection of the glass, or her voice whispering my name from the woods. I don't know if it was paranoia or something real, but at 2:13 a.m., I heard soft footsteps outside the cabin, slow, measured, deliberate. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. The sound circled once around the porch, stopped near the window, and stayed there. I could feel someone standing just beyond the glass, watching. The air felt heavier than it should. Then, without a sound, whoever it was walked away. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next morning, when I stepped outside, I saw it. Faint shoe prints in the mud. Smaller than mine. Fresh. They led from the woods to the porch, and then vanished halfway back, like whoever made them just disappeared into the trees. And for the first time since leaving her, I wasn't sure if I was still the one in control of this story anymore. I didn't leave the cabin that day. Something inside me had shifted, something primal, like prey realizing the hunter has circled back. It wasn't just about her finding me. It was how she found me. I had made no mistakes. No paper trail, no digital footprint, no shared contact. I used burner phones, changed my billing address to nowhere, used cash only. And yet, she was here. She knew. Which meant someone I trusted had either slipped, or she'd gone deeper than I thought possible. I locked the door, pulled the curtains shut, and sat in the center of the floor, holding the letter she'd left. You think I wanted this? Turning it over and over like it might change. I couldn't stop thinking about that night in Miami, about the surveillance footage. Her in my sweatshirt. Him vanishing. The timeline was blurry, but the implications were razor sharp. I tried to disappear to protect myself. But now I wondered if I was running from something much worse. At noon, another note arrived. This time wedged under the cabin's back door. I didn't hear a knock. Didn't hear steps. Just noticed it fluttering in the draft like a threat. You left everything. I didn't. For words on the front. A folded photo inside. Not digital. Not printed. Developed, like from an old camera. The kind you have to take to a lab. It was us. At a lake. Not this one, another. Taken 3 years ago. I was barefoot, smiling, holding a fishing rod like I actually knew how to use it. She was behind me, arms wrapped around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder, both of us looking like the lie we used to believe. That we were happy. That we were real. On the back of the photo, she'd written in small, uneven handwriting. Tell me you don't miss this. Tell me that smile was fake. I can't. I dropped the photo like it burned. Because I did miss that version of us. I missed it so badly that it felt like bleeding. But that moment was from a time when I believed she looked at only me like that. Before I found her laughing with a stranger in swimsuit photos she never meant me to see. Before I found out that her conferences were candlelit dinners, beach walks, and secret rooms under his name. But now, here she was, dragging those memories out of the grave, using them like bait. And I was starting to feel like the one being hunted. I spent that night awake again. Lights off. Sitting in the farthest corner of the cabin with a fireplace poker in my hands like a weapon. I hated how ridiculous it felt, defending myself against a woman I used to tuck in at night. But the silence outside wasn't the peaceful kind anymore. It was waiting, watching, and around 3:40 a.m. it happened. Not footsteps this time. A voice. Soft. Trembling. A whisper, from the porch, inches from the door. Everett, please. I don't know what to do. I didn't mean for any of this. I froze. My entire body stiffened like stone. I didn't respond. I didn't breathe. I waited. He hurt me, she said. Not just you. He lied to me, too. I didn't know who he really was. I didn't know he had a wife. I didn't. Silence. Then, I thought it would feel like winning. But all it feels like is loss. I heard her hand slide down the door, nails gently scraping the wood. Then the sound of her backing away. I stayed in the corner long after she was gone. And when the sun rose, I didn't feel relief. I felt grief. Because that voice wasn't the Renee who lied, or cheated, or packed my hoodie for a weekend she told me wasn't personal. That voice was someone else. Someone broken. But it was too late. I couldn't save her from that version of herself anymore. I couldn't even save me from her. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I started packing. Again. I packed slowly that morning. Not out of fear, not even out of dread, but finality. The kind that comes when you're no longer running, just done. I folded the same shirts I'd lived in for weeks, stared at the empty coffee mug on the porch, and left the photo she gave me on the table by the window. Let it sit there in the sun until it curled. Let the past finally fade in its own time. But before I left the cabin, I did something I hadn't done in months. I turned my phone on. The second it connected, it lit up with a wave of missed emails, texts, voicemails. I didn't read most of them. Didn't want to. But one caught my eye, not because of what it said, but because of when it was sent. The day before she whispered through my door. Ultrasound today. I wish you'd come. But I'll go alone. I won't ask again. Renee, there was a photo attachment. I hesitated before opening it. But when I did, something cracked open inside me. It was the blurry black and white shape of a child. The little arc of a spine. The faint pulse of a heartbeat in pixel blur. I just stared at it. For a long time. Then I cried. Not out of sadness, but release. It felt like my ribs had been holding something in for months. And finally, it all let go. I didn't forgive her in that moment. I'm still not sure I have, even now. But I did realize that not everything we leave behind is supposed to stay buried. Some things grow roots. And some things grow heartbeats. So I did what I never thought I would. I drove back. Not to the life we had. That version of us was gone. But I drove to the small apartment she'd rented near the hospital. I didn't tell her I was coming. Just knocked, heart thudding. When she opened the door, she didn't speak, didn't cry. She just stepped aside. Let me in. Quietly. Carefully. Inside, the place was a mess of half-assembled furniture, unopened boxes, a single blanket on the couch. She had changed. I could see it. The glow was gone. But so was the armor. We didn't talk about him. Not that day. Not the next. It was understood, a ghost we'd already buried between us. But we did talk about the baby. A girl. Due in 6 months. She asked if I wanted to be involved. I said yes. Every second. And I meant it. Not because I wanted her back. Not because I needed to fix what was broken. But because there was something new now. Something innocent. Something unshaped by betrayal, untouched by shame. And for once, I didn't feel like a fool for hoping. I felt like a father. We're not together. We won't be again. That chapter is closed. But now, when I hear from her, it's not begging, or lying, or reaching through darkness. It's a sonogram. A doctor's update. A video of a kick. Something real. I live 2 towns away now. I've got a small place near a bookstore, a job at a framing shop. My hands are rough again. My fridge isn't always full. But I sleep. I eat. I laugh sometimes. And when the due date comes, I'll be there. Not as her husband, not as her savior, but as a man who survived losing himself and chose to show up anyway. Because life doesn't end when someone breaks your heart. Sometimes, it begins with what they leave behind. And I'm ready for her. My daughter. Her name will be June. Because she'll be the first warm day after the longest winter I ever lived through.